Hello, this is Michelle. Before we begin today's Dasami Bookworm podcast, I want to announce the book signing event at Portobello Library with Chris and her brand new release of The Beckoning Cat. Details are Saturday, the 5th of July, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Portobello Library, and the link and details are in our description. Thanks very much, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello, this is Michelle at Dasami Bookworm Podcast, and I'm always excited about the interviews we do, but today I am super excited because we have one of our brand new self-published authors, Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Michelle. Good to see you.
It's lovely to see you and hear you and speak to you. Now, I would love to say your surname, but I tend to butcher it. Would you pronounce it, please?
It's Lerpinière.
A beautiful name with appropriate accents on E's as it should be.
That's the very job, yeah.
Well, you are releasing on the 13th of May your first book, The Beckoning Cat. Wonderful murder mystery set in Edinburgh. I'm so excited to read the full book. Please tell me how you feel about your first book.
I'm still, until I actually hold it in my hand, it's not going to be real. There's obviously been a lot of work behind the scenes with yourself and my lovely editing team. And Jed, of course, did the cover for the book. My husband, Jed, did the cover for the book. But until I actually hold it in my hand, it still feels ever so slightly like a dream. It's getting more and more real. But until I actually have the book in my hand, it still feels a bit dreamlike. But absolutely, everybody that I've told keeps saying to me, "Oh, you must be so proud. You must." I'm like, I think I am. I'm not sure. I'm just really excited, and I'm pleased with myself for actually having completed it and got to this stage. It's been a long process, I am. I'm proud, and I'm really excited.
There is a significance to the date you selected to have it release. Please tell us what that is.
So it will be my mum's 95th birthday. And I had said to her that I wanted that day in particular because it was going to be her birthday. So yeah.
I'm sure she's going to be thrilled and can't wait to hold the book herself. Absolutely. First, let's chat about the story, and then we'll go into the editing process and how that worked for you. Where did the characters in the story originate from, Chris?
So it's been a long time generating, just something that I've gone away and come back to over time. The characters themselves are based on people that I've met through my life. So I was a nurse for 40 years, and over that period of time, I've met some amazing people. I've also met some pretty hard people, you can imagine. Nursing, you meet all sorts. And so they're kind of a mixture. And there is a bit of in some of the characters, there is a bit of acknowledgement of the impact that person had in my life. The character Miri is based on a number of people that I've met through my life, but the name Miri comes from Ward Clarkess, who worked in the stroke unit, and she did the most amazing job. And Ward Clarkesses are often not acknowledged. Miri would go above and beyond for patients and their families, and I loved the name Miri. So I thought, there we go. My main protagonist is called Miri, and she's named after Miri the Ward Clarkess. Of course, Miri the Ward Clarkess doesn't know that yet.
She will very soon. That will be the open secret. So,
Yeah.
and with the story, and no spoiler alerts. So just briefly, as they say, the lift review of it. What's the synopsis of the story?
So the synopsis of the story is the two main characters, Marie and John. Marie is a donor coordinator for organs for transplant, and John is a senior police detective. And they are a couple. They're working their way through their relationship. They've decided that they're going to start a family. And then both of their jobs are obviously very difficult for lots of different reasons. And their professional lives collide with the very first victim in the story. And I'm not going to give anything away about that. But once their professional lives collide like that, the story takes on more arms and legs. So a lot of it is about the crime that's being committed, but also it's about their relationship and how they maneuver their way through their relationship in very stressful, difficult times. So yeah, and it's set in Edinburgh, which I think is. I used to live in Edinburgh. It's one of my favourite cities, and I think Edinburgh has everything that you need for a crime drama. It's got the dark areas of the Cowgate. It's got the beautiful meadows around by the castle, and the gardens, all the rest of it, and then it has its darker parts to it. Like Edinburgh's obviously well known for Burke and Hare and that kind of thing, and it's an ideal place to set a novel like mine. Yeah,
I often think that the location is also a character in the book
yes, very
because
much so.
of the atmosphere it does bring to it. Do you have a particular character that you are missing or you feel you're going to miss writing about?
I think probably. Am I? There is a bit of me thinks that there might be another book in me about the two characters because, yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I think there is a bit of me that could probably write a bit more about them. And because you spend so much time with them, they do become like part of you, and you do kind of miss them a bit. Yeah, absolutely. And wonder how they're getting on. But because I made them up in the first place, I know how they're getting on. They're doing great.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So the writers follow different plans. Some of them do detailed plans. Some writers just wake up and start writing every single day and let it flow. What path did you follow in your writing process?
Oh, that was tough. I When I first started, I thought, okay, I'm going to write this book. I've got this idea in my head. And I sat down and I wrote the first 3 chapters, and then it all dried up and got stuck. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then I listened to an interview with Joe Nesbo, the writer, and he talked about sometimes he writes the ending first and works his way back from that. Sometimes he just comes up with an idea and he just writes it down. And it almost gave me permission to do that, because the way my writing comes about is it's like a little video running in my head. So I write the video, I write what I see in the video, and sometimes I stop it so that I can describe what I'm imagining. And then it was like a patchwork, and pulling all of those parts, those little videos, it was like editing it all and pulling it all together. So it started to make sense. And the more, I know everybody says this, but the more I wrote and the more I got into the habit of writing, the easier it became. And I think it just because I had finished full-time work, finally I was able to concentrate on my writing a lot more. And sometimes I would sit down and write 10,000 words and not even realize, the time just flies by. So yeah, it was a real learning experience for me. about how I write, and I think everybody has to find their own way that's right for them. I don't think it is necessarily about just sitting down and starting. I tried mind mapping, but I'm no good at that. And I tried all the techniques that you're advised to try, but nothing really worked for me other than the only way I can describe it is the patchwork and just pulling it all together in the end. Yeah.
I think that's the most important aspect of writing is that it's unique for everybody. One of our writers has to have it detailed in an outline before they ever start writing. Uh, and it's difficult for other writers to do that. And I think the creativity behind it is what pursues, what helps you to process it. And if you try to do something that goes against your creativity, it won't flow. And I think
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
so writing it was the first part. Now the editing process, sometimes it can be quite traumatic for some. Tell the audience, please, how was it for you, Chris?
Well, I remember you saying to me that I was going to give you my baby and you were going to remove its limbs and take it apart. And so I was quite prepared for that. And because I felt, well, I've done this and I don't know what to do with it now. So I'm handing it over for somebody else to deal with. But actually, I found the editing process brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The team that I work with from Jasami were just so great. And for them, because when we had our first meeting, they had obviously read the book, and I was so nervous I could have vomited in the bin because I don't know what they were going to think about it. But they were so enthusiastic and so positive and supportive, and they were really, really good. And actually, the editing process was a delight because when I say that I wrote it in patchwork, they obviously picked up some of the bits that didn't quite match. And they would say, you said this in chapter one, Chris, but in chapter whatever, it doesn't match. So they were really scrupulous with the detail, which was great. And they sorted all my grammar and they came up with other words for things that they thought might be more suitable. They didn't change an awful lot, to be honest, which was great. And there were a couple of times there was words that they thought I should use, and I suppose because I wanted to keep those words because what those words mean to me, and we would agree to disagree about that. So they listened to what I said, and overall, in the end, I did have control of it. It wasn't like giving it to somebody's just going to rip it all to pieces. If I didn't agree with it, then what I wanted stayed, which was great. So I had an extremely positive experience, and I would tell anybody, give it to Jasami because they're brilliant.
Thank you very much. We do have a phenomenal team, and I might be a bit biased, but we do have talented editors there, and we'll give them a little shout out at the end. The other part to it is because you're self-published with Jasami, you do have the control, but the author's voice is also what's so important, and the team know that they might think something works, and that's why it's a suggestion and not written in stone, because your voice has to shine through. And I think that they all realize that, and in in how they work and how the process.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
So that's fantastic. So the next part is it's been formatted and the covers on it. Jed's got that, so you can't wait to hold it. And then the other part is I always say you start off as a writer, then you become a published author, and then the hard work really does start. So it's fantastic. Now the release is 13th of May, your mom's birthday. And then there is going to be a book signing up in Portobello. You're out of the country for a few weeks. That's why there's a
Yeah,
little bit of
yeah,
delay. But in July, there is a book signing at Portobello Library
yes,
in Portobello, which is great.
yes.
for the
Yeah.
library to be. So we'll be celebrating that. We will be releasing all the detailed information in June, closer to the time frame. That is when you will actually experience the joy of signing your book
Yeah.
and knowing that everybody's going to enjoy the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's really important. What I know it's difficult. Well, publishing is a really, really difficult industry to get into and to get works published in. Um, please tell everybody the journey of how you found Jasami because I think it's one of the coolest stories ever.
So I had finished the book and I had asked for some advice from um, I had gone up to do a writing retreat up at Moniac Moor near Inverness, which was a crime writing retreat with support from tutors there. And Karen Campbell was one of the tutors there. She now is at Dumfries, creative writing at Dumfries University. So I had got in touch with her to say, I've finished my book, what am I going to do with it? And so she said I should get the writers and artists 2025 book and find agents who were similar, who, other authors that my work was similar to, and write to them. So I did that. Followed all the instructions. I submitted to 5 agents. And I think, she said to me, she had actually submitted to 20 agents before she got a bite. And then I was like, oh, nothing was coming back. Nothing was coming back. And I thought, oh, well, am I going to do anything with this? Really? Is it, how much am I going to pursue it? And then one of my friends, Sue, who rescues parrots and birds that people think that they can keep as pets, but when they actually look after the parrots and the cockatiels and the cockatoos, they realize that these birds are not, they're very difficult to look after. So she runs a charity, and Jasami, we're supporting that charity 1 month. And Sue had said to me, have you heard about Jasami? Give them a go. And oh my God, yes, lifesavers.
I do think that is such a wonderful story because we do mascots of the month, with our team members, and they have, I call them furry family members, dogs and cats and such. And we reached out to several organizations, and one of them was the Parrot Organization. And I just cannot believe it's the path, the journey of finding,
Meant to be. Yeah,
yes,
meant to be.
absolutely, absolutely meant to be. So, what what is your next step? I know after, once the book and you hold the book and it's there in your hands, then we're, going to help you with the promoting of it and getting it through and out. And this is one of the steps. People need to know about it to be able to purchase it. It will be available on the 13th of May on Amazon, and people can go and they can buy it in hardback, they can buy it in paperback, and the digital is available as well. So there's lots of different ways for them to read it. But since there's that delay in July, please tell the audience where you're going for your visit because your book will also be releasing in that country as well.
So yeah, I'm going to Canada, and hopefully we'll be able to promote my book whilst I'm in Canada.
Uh, absolutely, absolutely. It is going to be available through the chapters, I believe, is the bookseller there, but I'll verify that name with it. So inspiration is very important to new writers. You are now an old hand at it. You've written the story, you've been through the editing process and such. What would you say, what advice would you give to writers out there, new writers, to when they're frustrated and say, "Oh, I can't go on," or they get writer's block? Um, what piece of advice would you give to them?
I think everybody is in a different situation, obviously, and the everyday occurrences that happen in your life can interfere with your writing, and some days you're up for it and some days you're not. But I think the one piece of advice for me, certainly, that I received was, even if you, it's like exercise, if you just write for 2 minutes in a day, you're writing. And the other thing about that is nobody else is reading it. It's just you. So if it's absolutely crap, nobody else needs to see it. But at least you've done it. And I think if any of us do any exercise or anything like that, you know, some days you're good and some days you're not. Some days you're on form and some days you're not. But certainly try to write something every day. It doesn't have to be screeds and screeds and screeds. It could be 2 sentences. It can be look out of the window and write what you see out that window, or even not even write it. Just think it, but think. Get that creative part of your brain engaged, and the more you do it, it's like anything. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and then when you start, it's great, and it's such a fantastic feeling to be able to sit down and write and write and write and write and write and not notice the time going by. That's one of the best times of writing for me, certainly. I went, one of my friends has a lovely cottage down in Northumberland, and I was fortunate enough to go and spend a week on my own, and I wrote every day. And like that thing when I first arrived there on the Saturday, I was giving myself such a hard time saying, right, get on with it. You have to get on with it. And then I was like, I'm here all week. I'm not going to see anybody. I can write whenever I want, wherever I like. And then I found I got into a real routine, a fabulous routine of going for a long walk in the morning and then writing for about 4 hours and then having a break and then coming back to it and writing again. And on that week, I ended up writing something like 35,000 words, which in the end needed very little editing. And, you know, that's nearly a third of the book, which was brilliant. So yeah, I think it is just allow your creativity, give it a chance to blossom, and exercise it every day. As I say, nobody has to read. It's only until you actually are brave enough to go, do you want to have a look at this? See what you think? That's the difficult bit. That's the difficult bit.
And that's the hardest part, is because
Yeah,
you created
totally.
this beautiful work, and the fear of, oh, what will people say? What will people think? And
Absolutely.
but being creative and doing it every day, I think you've given an excellent piece of advice. It's the creative consistency. And as you said, doesn't have to be, 10,000 words. It can just be one sentence, and then
Yeah.
you've done it. And then it does take the pressure off, because writers, it's a solitary existence other than
Very.
for all your characters. All your characters do live with you. So the writing is solitary, but the living is not. So as we draw to an end and you're looking forward to it, we're going to show through a social media, obviously, you with the book, and let them know that you've received it and you're happy with it and the process. I just want to say congratulations on taking that step and becoming a published author.
I still can't get used to that. Thank you so much, Michelle. It has been a fabulous journey, and this has probably been, I had expected it to be quite, I don't know. I don't know what my expectations were to get to this stage, but it has been an absolute pleasure and a joy working with you and your team. You and the team have been so supportive and actually made it remarkably easy. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I love that. I'm going to have a swelled head now. Belt to the side, walk through the door. Thank you. Thank you for that. So the last part we have is we always do shout outs.
Yeah.
So who would you like to do a shout out to? Uh,
Oh wow, there are. Yeah, God, it sounds like the Oscars or something, doesn't it? Oh. like to say thank you too. So yeah, of course, my family, Jed, my husband, who is always in there, always been supportive. My sister-in-law, I've put her in my acknowledgements. Auntie Karen, she probably was the one that really, really kick-started me because I, with trepidation, gave it to her to read just the first three chapters, because she can be quite acerbic, and I knew she would be honest. Um, but she was so pleased. She loved the book, and at that point, I hadn't finished it, and she got between her and Alan, one of my other good friends, they got cross with me because they're like, "Hurry up, finish this. How does it end?" So Alan and Karen and Jed and yeah, some the professional people I've worked with. My friend Neil Healy, who was a donor coordinator, he gave me a lot of help, and Jonathan Griffiths gave me. I couldn't finish the book. I knew how I wanted it to end, but I needed some professional police advice on the way that I was planning it. Would it work? And he gave me carte blanche for how I could finish the book and it be realistic. So yeah, out to him too. So yeah, it's all of those people have been amazing, and yeah, yeah, it's been really, really good.
Well, my shout out is to my entire Dasami team, but especially to Callum, David, and Lisa,
Yeah,
your
yeah, they were
your
amazing.
personal team. Thank you
Yeah,
guys, because without, I always say this, without the team, Dasami wouldn't be anywhere. And that's how we've grown and such, and help support writers like you.
yeah. And
With
they were one of the things I would say about them, about the three of them, was they were fun to work with. They made it fun, you know. I think that was really, really important. I really enjoyed working with them. And when the editing was finished and we didn't have any more meetings, I was a bit, you talk about living with your characters. I'm like, what how the guys are getting on?
Well, David and Lisa will probably be at the event we're having, the Dasami Open event on the 24th of May, which will be advertising your book at that point in time. You'll be off in Canada. You may run into Callum because he's in Canada as well, but he's scarped off to Nova Scotia, so I
I
don't
was just
think
a wee bit too far away.
that. I know Canada's quite a large country,
Yeah.
and but we love it.
Despite what Trump wants to do with it.
Well, being a Canuck born there, yeah, I would say not probably going to happen. We're nice, but we you don't walk over us.
No, absolutely.
So I want to thank you for your time today and sharing your experience, Chris, with our audience. I think it's so important. And through social media, we will keep you active and so people can see what's going on with you. So thank you for
Brilliant.
today.
Thank you, Michelle. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much. All right.
My pleasure. So, once again, this is Michelle at Jasami Bookworm Podcast, wishing you all a sunny day.